What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Chris, this is 4K Motoring, and today we're talking blind spot monitoring on motorcycles. If you guys didn't know, blind spot monitoring, radar systems, and camera systems have come to motorcycles and have been with them for a couple years now. They're starting to get popular in the industry, so we're gonna go ahead and talk about some of my favorites, and we're gonna install a new system from Innovv that can install on any motorcycle you have to give you blind spot technology. If this is your first time watching the channel, feel free to hit that like button and subscribe, that way you stay tuned. This channel focuses on motoring technology for the most part, and I do have a passion for motorcycle safety, so these things go hand in hand pretty well together. Those of you that have watched this channel for a while know that I have a 2022 Ducati Multistrada V4S that I bought new, and one of the standout features of this bike was this little blind spot radar system built into the bike right here. Now, this was kind of revolutionary. It wasn't the only bike to have the radar adaptive cruise control. A couple bikes have that at this point, but this was the first bike that had the radar blind spot monitoring for the rear. And on the mirrors, there's little lights that show up whenever a vehicle's in your blind spot to alert you that there's something there. It's just a little added safety technique for those quick lane changes, just so you're confident there's nothing right beside you. Obviously, we always recommend turning your head, but added layers of safety never hurt. The new models actually do some rear collision warning as well. If it detects something coming up quick where it thinks an imminent collision is going to happen, it will alert you to that as well. So pretty cool technology overall. Now, I have ridden almost 26,000 miles on this bike and used this system for quite a while. Used it on road trips, used it in group rides, all sorts of scenarios, and found it to be very reliable. Actually, I like it a lot. Now, when we got the new F800GS here, we went with a little bit different option. As you can see on the back of this bike, there is no radar system. There is just a camera. Now, we have added dash cams to all of our bikes, front and rear, just a little bit different systems. This one here is from Chigee, their AIO-5. They now have an AIO-6 as well that uses a camera-based blind spot monitoring system, kind of an AI system. So instead of a light coming on the mirrors, instead you get on your Android Auto screen right here, you get an alert on each side saying, warning, something's in your blind spot. Now, this is kind of a cool system because it doesn't require an additional radar unit on your bike. It just uses the same cameras that you're already using for blind spots, which I think is kind of cool. If you guys have seen the channel before, you know I have a partnership with Innovv, and I think they make some of the best camera systems for the motorcycling community. Really, these things are top-notch. You can get them on Amazon, you can get them on Revzilla. They stand behind their products, and they make really innovative stuff. What they've sent me is their latest RC6 platform. This is their latest camera and radar system for blind spot monitoring. It has warning lights to go up somewhere visible on your handlebars or mirrors. It has the radar built into the rear camera. So we're gonna go ahead and set this thing up on the X-Cape 650, see how easy it is, and see how well this works compared to one of the OEM systems or camera-based aftermarket systems that we have already in the garage. So let's go open up this container here. We can see a little bit about the cameras right there. And radar system, 2-in-1 dual 2K and 1080p cameras. So the front is 2K, rear is 1080p. It runs in a 77 to 79 gigahertz radar. For the blind spot, you can see it's built into the rear camera there. Let's go ahead and open it up. Tells you a little bit more about it. Here's our system. You can see this same front camera that we have on our Multistrada. We have a small hub right here that's going to go under the seat. Here is our rear system. You can see the small little radar right next to the camera. I think that's kind of a cool system. Here are our little indicator lights. You can see how small they are, roughly the tip of my finger, and they will mount somewhere either on your brake master cylinders, on the mirrors, somewhere visible. Hand guards, I've seen them mounted on, so we'll see what the best spot for those is for visibility and for mounting. You've heard my complaints before. No bike should have a seat that requires tools to take off, in my opinion, especially if the battery's under it. If you have a dead battery, this is just a terrible idea. That said, these are 10 millimeters, so let's go ahead and pop them out. Okay, with our seat out of the way, we can see our battery is sitting right here. It is very easily accessible, and there is a ton of space under this seat here. So we're gonna go ahead and see where we can wire this up. I'm gonna kind of mock up just the overall direction of all these wires, where I think they should run. We're probably gonna end up taking off, it looks like, a couple easy bolts to take off these side panels. That way we can run some wires up the side of this, up to the front of the bike. That way we can get our camera and our sensors mounted, and hopefully this will be a pretty easy process. Okay, so we have our cameras kind of rough drafted basically in. We have our first one right here. This is the same 2K camera that is on our Multistrada. And honestly, I like it a lot. There's kind of a GoPro style mount that'll mount, and I think we're gonna use it to this bottom crash bar right here. So this will mount right there. Some people put the cameras behind the windshield. Unfortunately, this Innovv one here has all the Wi-Fi in it, has the SD card and all that. It is pretty long, so it really doesn't fit behind the windshield. You've got to put it somewhere else, and this seems like the best spot for me. This bike has, as one might expect from a Chinese bike, a ton of different fasteners. There's like 6 different types of fasteners you have to remove in order to basically flex these out enough to get anything behind them. It is a little bit difficult, not too hard, but it is more cumbersome than it probably should be for this bike. I've got the little left and right sensors right here. Not sure yet if I'm gonna put them on the mirror or the handguard or on the handlebars somewhere. There's a lot of mounting options for them. The rear one, I believe we're going to mount right here under the top case mount. I think that'll be a good spot for it, as long as it doesn't block the brake light. The instructions are pretty well done. It is a big sheet of paper, not a bunch of books, so everything's in view in one spot. It shows you kind of everything that's supposed to connect here all together. Shows you how to put your SD card in. They call it a TF card. I guess that's a European or Japanese thing. And here's all of our real instructions that we need to know. How we mount the front camera are a couple options, how to mount the rear camera, and a couple ways to put the radar indicators on. We even get a little description of how the third eye radar works, which is pretty cool. In our box, we have a lot of mounting options for the cameras, for the little indicators. There are 3 bags of different adhesives, different mounts, and different indicators here on how to put everything together. We're gonna go ahead and move on to that step. We'll figure out the best way we want to mount everything to this bike, and I'll show you what we did when we're done.
A few moments later.
Okay, that took a couple minutes, but I think we got everything routed well. It is all buttoned back up, and for the most part, I think I'm happy with it. Now, I ended up putting the sensors, or the indicators rather, right here on the mirrors. It does require these little wires to be kind of routed down, and it doesn't look totally as clean as I would like. Obviously, if you could take the mirror apart or have something with hollow, it makes it a little bit easier. There are lots of other places you could mount it, such as handguards or windshields or near the dash. As I ride a little bit, I'll determine whether there's a better spot for it or not, but otherwise I wanted to put it kind of a similar spot as my Multistrada where it comes OEM. So I have it right there on the mirror, right on the inside to indicate. Overall, everything routes well. A concern I found with this X-Cape 650 is that there is no strap holding the battery down. It literally flops around, and I don't think that's how it's supposed to be, so I'm gonna talk to my dealer about that just to see if that's the way the Moto Morini is supposed to be. There is a ton of room for activities in here. This spot here has so much space under the seat. You could do literally whatever you want. I ended up stealing the ignition power source back here from this relay box. There is a light fuse back here, so when the lights turn on, the fuse turns on. Obviously that's switched ignition. That's where the yellow wire goes. The red wire goes, of course, to positive. Black wire goes to negative. I mounted the box right here inside the frame rail, which made it nice and easy. All the wires are kind of direct connect. They're left side male, right side female, I believe. So you can't mix these things up. It is very easy to install. My front mount, I am waiting on a different mount. The ones that they sent with this didn't quite work. I have it zip tied right now. I prefer this style here, the GoPro style, that just has kind of a traditional GoPro mount that clicks in that I have on the Multistrada, same camera. So I've emailed Innovv about that to see if I can get those, because I think that'll work better with this front crash guard. Otherwise, the wires run inside the body panels pretty well. The rear camera was pretty easy to mount. I put it right under this rack, and I think it's gonna get a really good view, both camera and radar, at what I'm looking at. As the bike sits totally on its own on the center stand, I've got this angled just slightly up, so when I actually sit on the bike, it'll probably be pretty flat. There are some instructions in the actual manual here about the angles and exactly how it should be positioned for best usage. But let's turn it on and see how it does. Takes about 10 seconds. All right, tells you it's powered on and ready to go. That's pretty cool.
3 days later.
Innovv, we need to talk. So I put about 200 miles on this system so far, testing it and comparing it to our other two blind spot monitoring options here, just to give you my true and honest feedback. Now, with the installation, as I said, I am happy with the way it went. I think it was all very efficient. Still not exactly sure where I'm putting the indicators. The mirror seems like the logical choice, but the wires are a little bit hard to route. Overall, not bad. The Innovv system, the K6 that I have on the Multistrada, is fantastic. I love that camera system. It is sleek, it is simple, and it just works. The image quality out of this thing is awesome with that 2K front camera, 1080p rear camera. I think it's a really good balance for usable content that if something happens, you can get information that you need to get off of it, and it looks okay. Now, here's my problem. So, on the mirrors here, we have our little indicators right there. And that is about where they are on my Multistrada, and I think that's one of the best spots to alert you to look at your mirror to see what's coming behind you. Great idea. Now this blind spot monitoring system has a couple different features. It will do blind spot monitoring, so it'll just tell you if there's something in your blind spot on either side, allegedly. And it does the rear collision warning. When it detects something coming up quickly behind you, it'll flash both just to get your attention to be like, hey, something's coming up behind you. Might want to pay attention because it might be a hazard. No problem with that. What I found is, and I think this is the critical flaw, and I'm not sure how Innovv can solve it, this system is not attached to the vehicle really in any way. It doesn't know what the vehicle's doing, and because of that, it's got some limitations. This system only detects a vehicle if it's moving faster than you, and I think that's the big flaw that makes me not recommend this radar system from Innovv. It only detects a vehicle as the vehicle is moving up to you, and it doesn't detect anything as you're moving by it, which means if you are going slightly faster than traffic or staying next to a car, it won't detect that there is just a car there. It doesn't know that there is a car in your blind spot. It only knows when a car suddenly appears from behind you into your blind spot, if that makes sense. Whereas something like the Ducati with that radar-based cruise control of the Bosch system, anytime there's a vehicle in your blind spot, it will alert you to it. And if you turn your turn signal on, it will start flashing to alert you to it. If you are totally stationary, it does nothing. This system, regardless of you moving or not, is active. So if you are stationary and somebody walks by your bike, it will illuminate. That is what it is. Again, if you're just riding next to a car and it's just stuck in your blind spot, this thing won't pick it up. It won't read it. And if you pass the car and it suddenly stays in your blind spot, it won't let you know that it's still there. The rear collision warning is okay. It gives you some alert if something's coming up behind you, but I had it give me some false signals a couple times on the highway when I was getting off on an exit ramp and cars were at least a half mile, if not more, behind me. This thing still started flashing, and I think that was a little bit unnecessary. So for a great many reasons, I wanted to give you guys a lot more input and video on this thing, but for a great many reasons, I don't think I can recommend the radar system from Innovv. The company itself is great, and I like that they're pushing bounds and actually testing this stuff. That is fantastic. However, I think you should stick with something just like their K6, their regular dash cams. They are super high quality, and they just work. This radar stuff, cool technology, and I think we're getting there, but this isn't it. So for now, the gold standard is still something like the Bosch system on my Multistrada. If you want an aftermarket system, something you can add to a bike that doesn't already have one, something like this Chigee AIO-5, this little extra screen up here that gives you the warnings, blind spot warnings, based on camera. So it actually uses the camera to detect if something's in the visual field. That works decently well. It is a little harder to see because there's no lights up by your mirror, so it doesn't get your attention as well, but it gives you some indication. I think that's a pretty good system. So if you're looking for dash cam systems for your motorcycle and want to see what's out there, this system, again, pretty innovative, but I don't think it's fully worth your money at this point. It does have some flaws. The problem is if it doesn't work when it's supposed to every time, you learn not to trust it. If it cries wolf all the time, you don't put any thought into it, it doesn't actually get your attention anymore, and if it frankly just doesn't turn on when you think it should, then it's not helping you at all. So for those reasons, I don't think this is worth getting. If you guys are curious, I will leave links to these products down below, both the radar-based camera system as well as just their standard camera systems. Again, I recommend that K6 system, the same one that's on the Multistrada, just the very sleek cameras, and it just works really well. If you guys have any questions about this system or know of any other blind spot monitoring radar systems for motorcycles, I'd love to hear about it. Please let me know in the comments below. If there's any other technology you guys want to see, let me know, and we'll hopefully bring that to you soon. As always, I'm Chris, this is 4K Motoring. Thanks for watching. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you next time.